Hello and welcome to another Max Chroma tutorial video. In this video we're going to be going over some more of the instructions to use the Max Chroma Photo Tessellator 2022 Action Update to version 1.8. And again, that's a product that is available on my payhip.com/maxchroma web store for just $50. We're going to start off going into some of the more custom color modes that we were working on in the last video. I'm going to go ahead and use some different test artwork examples. So I'll just bring in this artwork. Maybe I'll set it, because it's a vector file, I'm going to rasterize it. I might make this a little bit smaller, like 11, or actually it's got a lot of border to it, so I'll let that come in at 13 inches, 300 dpi, no anti-aliasing. And I'm going to actually crop. I'm going to go ahead and use the crop tool right here to just crop in the sides a little bit. I don't need all that excess space. Okay, so taking something like this, we are going to try to go through and maybe do a couple of these interlock methods we were doing in the last video, and then I'll show how I've got 6, 7, and 8 color rosettes that won't necessarily give you an interlocking halftone of all the colors, but they'll give you the colors split to different layers, and the halftones will be set to different rosette patterns that you can try and change the angles and change the way they interlock together. If you could invert some of them, it works. But let's just go ahead and try looking at this under maybe the 5 custom color interlock. So when I click that button, it's going to bring the image into an index mode where I get to pick the colors that I want it to be made out of. Now the interesting thing is, with this vector file, it's detecting that there's 204 exact colors, but that's picking a color for every single line of the different pixels of the shading in that gradient, along with a bunch of other colors for all these different shades, tints, and tones. So I don't want it to be 204, and when you're running these modes, like the 3 custom color interlock, 4, 5, etc., from this custom color mode and these other modes, you want to stick to the perceptual. So I'm going to go change the palette to local perceptual, and it's going to be set to the 5 colors. Now under the preview, that's going to try to pick the colors automatically. Sometimes those are not the best colors from the artwork to use, so if I uncheck preview, I can then pick the colors from the artwork directly. Go into the palette and now change it to custom. Here I can pick one of these. I might set to the background color. This other one I might set to this text color here. I want that to be a solid color of its own, and it'll blend it somewhat with the others. And then I may want to have this red color in here, although this is a little bit lighter red than this one, so maybe I need to pick this more pure red, and it'll try to fade it in to make that red. It's really up to you. You might say, there's more of this color here, and I want this to stay more of the consistent color, and I don't care if this one changes. Or you want this to be the color that it is because it's much more pure and bright of a red, even though it's kind of a shade. So it depends, but maybe I'll pick this one, and it'll be more prominent here, and it'll probably darken it up a little bit to like that color or so to make this shade. So let's just click this one instead. And then I'll pick this blue color here, and I want this to be like a gradient between these two, and maybe I want it to be this color. I'll see if those are the same. Yeah, they're pretty much the same, but I want this to be the solid point. And then I'm gonna change this to be the other point. And this is not the same color as this, but actually, you know what? They have they have an outline here, and they have this as a separate color. So I'm almost running out of colors with 5 colors to try to make the parts that I want to be. I could merge some of these together, but I kind of want to have it automatically split it all up for me. And I don't want this to become halftones or that to become halftones, but I guess I'm going to have to run it through because I'm just showing you the 5 color method. And you'd almost need to have a white in here, something like this color. And so I got the white, the blue blending to that. And you know, there's the shirt color back here, and then this is for this text color. So let me just hit OK, OK, and then preview. And we can see how much some of this other stuff changes, if it does at all. Seems like it's working good. It's just that it's going to make this line out of some dots over, like some white dots over this color here. And the same with the outlines of this. It's using some of the blue dots along with this white. But you can see this is the solid point here, and this is the solid point of this red. Okay, so I'm just going to let it go through and we'll see what we get out of it. There's certain things, if you were going to be printing this, that you would want those different regions of color to be like solid and not made out of little dots. But the point of this action set is to make it really easy if you don't have any of this background experience in working with graphics, converting them to halftones for printing purposes or other types of graphic effects. This really helps you to speed up and automate the process and just make it a lot easier and simpler to work in converting an image directly into a specific set of colors and trying to get those colors to all blend together. So we're going to just have this run through. It's going to stop and ask me, I could stop these videos and just go right ahead to the part where it's done, but I kind of want you guys to see the steps that it goes through and about how much time you might wait on a computer system like mine. So using this size image, the 11 inches or so that it was, and I cropped it in from the 13. It's going to go into 600 dpi resolution when it stops and asks me what resolution I want, and I can pick the halftones that go along with it. But on a system that has about 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM, and this one has a 6-core processor, and it has a Radeon RX 550 graphics card. And so it's not like a crazy gaming system. It's just a decent workstation. And running Photoshop 2022 with these actions, you can see it's going to take a little longer the bigger that your image is and the higher resolution you go, but you're really not going to be waiting like 30 minutes. You're just going to be waiting a few minutes as it goes through and produces this. So let's hit OK here. OK to the angle. We just have to hit OK on that twice. And then where the 5-color one comes into play, it's going to run another halftone at a separate angle. So we kind of want to keep these to the default that they are. You don't want to switch the halftone patterns, but you still could. We'll get into a lot of that stuff, showing all sorts of different examples. Okay, so looks like it's just about finished. It usually creates this layer at the end, and then it sets it up as a indexed mode, so you could go right in and change the colors around there. But we also have these layers set up here of all the different colors. And so we can see it did. It made those texts solid. It made this one have the white dots over it. This one fades this color into the blue, but it also kind of made some of the red in there to try to simulate some of that color. I don't know that I would do that manually, extracting those two in a gradient together, but that's the way that this method works. It creates these blends out of all the colors that you pick. It tries to make it as close to the original as possible using the colors that you selected. But maybe apart from the background color and having an underbase, maybe I would want to have used more colors than just the 4 screens. But I'm just showing you how that one works with the 5 custom color interlock. So let's close that. But the thing is, they all blend together really well to create all those tones and shades of the art. So let's close this one. And let's try the 6 custom color. Now this one's going to go to rosettes instead of interlocks. And so it's not going to look as good when it's finished, as far as some colors are going to overlap with each other. Some colors are going to rosette with each other. And I might have to specifically choose if I want some of them to interlock with each other or not. But let's go ahead and run the 6 custom color version. Okay, so again here, I want to make sure that I uncheck preview. Usually helps this to show up quicker. And then change the palette to local perceptual. It'll snap it to the number that you want for this action. This is 6 color. Then I can turn preview on again, and it'll try to pick the colors for me somewhat automatically. I can go and look at those then, but I kind of want to turn preview off so I can pick different ones from the art directly. And I'll go to change the palette, and I'll go to custom. And then I'm going to select one of these as the background color. This next one, I'll select this text color. Then I'm going to choose this red from the sail. We'll choose this blue color here, which again is kind of the same color as this. And we'll choose the lighter color right there, which I'm wondering, is this the same? No, it's not the same color as this one. Okay, so we'll do that color. Hit OK. And then maybe I want to do the white instead of, let's see, this, we have this one for the text, we have the background, we got the red, the blue, the color that this one blends into, and the white. And you know, the thing that was happening was actually the outline here is like a light shade of blue. And this white, the solid white part is really only right here. So when you make some of these decisions looking at this kind of artwork, you might say, actually, I'm going to use this lighter blue color. It'll create this outline in a more of solid color, and it'll just try to make this, it'll change this a bit. So let's hit OK and see what happens there. Preview. Yeah, so it could just kind of got rid of the brightest white and turned it into some of that blue. Same thing is happening here. But now we know that this part right here is going to be that exact color. So we can go ahead and turn the preview off. And I think, you know, honestly, too much stuff is changing in here. And I might not want to do that. I might want to just go through before running this art through and select with the magic wand tool. It is non-anti-aliased vector art, so I could just select all that stuff and change it to white if I wanted. There's a lot of things you can do if you know how to prepare the artwork for using these actions and actually make it work a little better for you if it's got some issues with it. But this is all about getting you something that you can bring to screens and bring to press without having a lot of that background graphics knowledge. So let's just uncheck that and maybe change this, picking it as this white again. I think I like that better. Turn the preview on. That looks pretty good. So let's just hit OK and let this run through. So it's going to go through and do these 6 custom colors. Actually, I think I may have been working on... No, I went back to the original version. Okay, it's going to take a little while because it's running it at high res and it's going to do 6 colors, but we'll just go ahead and see what happens as it goes through. Okay, there we go. It's generating the layers. It's going to go through and start extracting the color from each of those layers. And you know, this part, it doesn't really take that long. I feel like it's taking a long time because I'm in the middle of a video. And I'm not trying to make the videos take a long time or have you just watch something, but I think it helps to see the process of what's going through and to know that these actions might take a little longer with a larger image, but it generally should not take that long. You want to be careful. If it starts taking forever, you might have to hit escape and stop it. You might have had an image that started off way too large. The resolution of the image matters. The size of the image matters. You know, you want to think about the final size that you want this image to be. Now, the thing you could do with some of those other, the other action set that I have that says doing a full automatic mode means you would only pick the colors, and there's even a way to set it up that you don't even have to pick the colors. You can just let it run through automatically, let it pick the colors for you, and it'll just run fully automated. So you don't have to even do anything to get that final result. But I want to show you guys in the instructional videos starting off using the user mode action set, and this one you can stop and change some of the settings as it goes through. The important part that I'm trying to show in some of these videos is that picking the colors from the artwork really matters. It's going to affect what colors are blending together. So let's hit OK on this 600 dpi. And I'll just hit OK for this round dot. It's going to go through and set up another one that's not at 22.5 degrees, but that is at 67.5 degrees. And here I could still change those angles and change those dot patterns, but this is the rosette effect, where it's going to have some of these screens at 22.5, some at 67.5, and they will have like a 45-degree offset from each other. And then you can go through and choose, you could change some of those patterns around, but this one is set up so that it's live ripped, where the patterns are overlapping the different parts of the artwork. And so now you can see that it went through, it created the different separations. It starts off with this blurred composite. And here's the rosettes composite. The thing that it does is actually put some gain and some opacity over it to simulate stuff. And so if I look at these different layers, I can open these up and show you what they're made out of. But these are like the different colors. And so these are like groups. So here's color 1 master group, and that's like the background color. You can almost consider that this is your underbase. But really what I want to show you is that these are not necessarily converted to halftones in a method that's destructive. You can actually look at the separations themselves without it being in halftones here. Okay, so this is the underbase or the shirt color. Next we have the white. We wouldn't really see that showing up. Or I'm sorry, this is next color. Color 2 master group is this brown color. So when we turn that on, you can see this is over the underbase here. These two being at different settings, like this halftone being at a different setting from the underbase, might affect how that outline works. Like we're seeing a little bit of white peeking around this because these are at 2 different halftones. So that might be one of the first things I change, is making that work better together. I might not want some of this color in this blend here. I might want it to be more of the other color. So there's ways to now work with these separations, but basically it's giving you a set of steps that you could take to press and print. And most of the time it's really going to be good enough to pass as a job for people. The whole point is that you might not have any experience with separations and you just want to get something that you can work with. So, you know, there's a lot of other actions I'm going to get to that are like extremely professional types of color separations, but they're very high end. They're very difficult to pull off in the printing. So this is all about choosing custom colors that then work easier together. You don't have to worry about halftones all blending this text together. If I wanted to basically make these halftones the same on each one, I might drag the halftone layer and duplicate it from the color 1 and bring it up to these ones. So I'll hold Alt and bring this up here, and hold Alt and bring this up here. It's in the opacity and this. Turn this off, turn this off. And now I've helped those to match up a little bit more. You still may want to choke it back a bit on the underbase. You might go into this one and cut that stuff in, but I'd show that in some other videos. It's a little bit more of an advanced effect to do. So we'll go through looking at these. Now here's this red color. And so you can see I've got control over the halftones using this curve right here. I can actually change these halftones now in the red. I can make them lighter, I can make them darker. And so I'm sort of simulating with the curve that it's already going to dot gain a little bit when you print it. So that's why I've got these curves already set in here. And it's sort of simulating the dot gain. If you were going to go to take this to press and print it, you might want to turn the dot gain simulation off, like so. You would just let this, that's for the other layer. You would take this one and turn off the simulation layer of the dot gain, and you would print that directly as its own separation. Okay. The next color we've got here is that blue. And then we've got this other brown color. And here's where, you know, I could actually merge the two together, or I could find another way to blend these. Really, I don't know that I would go with this version of it for this design. You know, I might stick with the other one. I'm just showing you guys how I've created these extra 6 and 7 and 8 color methods that give you a rosette pattern. So let's close this one. Let's try to look at maybe a different design under the 7 color and the 8 color rosette. So let's see, we've got some different test patterns. Maybe I'll show this one. Yeah, let's take this one and bring it in here again. Okay, and let me look at the image size I've got. All right, this should run a little quicker in this video. So let's go and do 7 custom color rosette with this. Okay, so we're gonna look at the image, go to local perceptual, turn on the preview. It'll get some of the colors automatically. And then let's uncheck the preview and then change the palette to custom. And I'm gonna select the colors that I want from here, like this darker color. I'm gonna choose the white. I'm gonna change this one to maybe, maybe this color, I want this text to be part of the solid points. And this other text color, then this text color, and this purple. And oh yeah, I need to keep white as one of the colors. And then I'm gonna maybe we gotta have some other color to get all the orange things and like the pinks and stuff. So maybe I will choose a color that's like, really need the yellow to be part of this. Okay, yeah, we won't be able to get any of these pinks in this if I don't use one of them there. I might not need all of these blues. So, I might even need to go to 8 colors, but let's just see what it looks like under the preview here. Yeah, that's not bad. It's just it's turning this stuff into the purple over there, right? I could go to the custom mode and maybe select a different color, like using this purple, and it will change this text color. And it's like it's getting a little bit more of this blend. Some of the blues are changing here because I don't have like a deeper blue to pick for that. I could maybe even change this cyan color to more of this blue, or a brighter blue there. Preview. One of the other things you can do with this stuff is you can tell this mode to go like using a black and a white, and then try to pick some bright hues. Like instead of this direct color, I might let it do that one, but I also might want to pick like a bright yellow. And this bright green, I'll actually set it up to there. This cyan color. And we'll take one of these sort of like purple or magenta colors, and we'll actually bring it way up to being brighter. Like so, and maybe a little bit redder. And then we got to keep the white as one, but we have to put another color in here. I think I need a deeper blue, not just the cyan blue. So let's make like, what I'm doing is selecting an area, and then I'm seeing what color it is, and I'm forcing it up to be the brightest point just about. Hit OK, and let's preview, see what this might give us. And you see things don't actually change that much because everything's now using a brighter color to mix together and produce the separations. Okay, but it's going to blend a lot of this text out of different dots of color. So it might look good in this index mode, but once we convert it to all those dots, we'll see what we get. We'll just hit OK and run through. This stuff is just really fascinating in how you can easily convert any image into a set of, certain number of colors that you want to use, and you get to choose those colors and you get to see how they would blend together, and then it just automates the rest of the process for you. So it's kind of like an easier way to go through and see which colors and which methods you might want to use to get the best separation possible, and to get a really good print that happens on press. But there's a big difference between the full process colors, the simulated process methods, and using custom colors involved in it. And there's just a lot of different stuff in these actions, so I want to show you guys how you've got all of the tools necessary, even in just this action set now, to produce just any kind of separation you want. But I'm starting off with the custom color things because those are usually more challenging to extract the separations. They're a little bit easier to print, but the doing the separation part is a little more difficult. Okay, so let's just hit OK on the 600 DPI. And I'm just going to hit enter for this, let these go through. And it'll ask me for this one because it's doing the other angle to get the rosette patterns. And then the order that these screens are all done at would matter at the end. But basically it's created this rosette effect of all these colors blending together. It's gone and separated them all, put them in the different areas that they would work to blend and create all this graphic effect. And then like I showed you, there's curves in here that are affecting it. The white is on top, the darker color might be down at the bottom here. And because everything is set to have some dot gain and some opacity, some of them are overlapping each other. And that's one of the issues with doing rosette separations instead of interlocking. But I can bring this entire group of the black all the way up to the top. Just drag that whole group right up here. And then I'll just let that snap in place. So now the black is on top. And I might take the curves of that and change it a little bit here. Lighten it up a bit, and then there's this other blue color in here, the darker blue, which I think is, where is it? Right here. So I can bring that one on top also and get more of the blues to show up like that. You can really go in with this one and change each of the curve settings in the different dots and try to affect how everything blends with each other. I might keep the black above the blue, and I might want these to maybe interlock with each other. So what I can do is actually copy the black halftones over to the blue ones. So I'll hold Alt and drag this layer. See how this one says it is a copy of color 2 inverted? This is a color 1 one. So I'll uncheck this, and I'll just drag this down to here as well for the opacity of it. Uncheck that. And then take both of these patterns, and I want to do Control I to invert that. This one, Control I to invert that. So now I've actually made the blue and the black interlock with each other, just manually using those color layers. And I can use this button up here at the top of the actions to make a new merged composite layer. And we can kind of see what all that looks like together when it's blending. But this kind of stuff is harder to do in the printing process. You got to make all these halftones show up on the screens the right way, and then you got to like print all those, and it matters what order you go in, how it's going to affect the final print, and it matters whether you have colors that interlock with each other or not. And so, you know, this design might have so many colors in it that you just want to use a full color method. But let's just close this, and we'll close this. We'll go to another test print example, or you know, maybe I'll even show you guys how it works with some other artwork. I want to see one of these test print examples. I don't know that I would need 7 or 8 colors. Maybe I'll do it on this one. We'll take this image here. Let's see. Okay, I might change the size of this a little bit. It's like 11 by 17. That'll take a while to run in the video, but again, that you would just experience it being maybe like 5 minutes to run. At the most. It really depends on your system. But let me go and just change this one to be like a little smaller for the sake of the video. And this is a design that I generated on Midjourney AI, and it's pretty cool. Just it's created this amazing portrait just like that. And I think I had brought this into Photoshop and did some of the neural filters to fix things up and brighten things up and change it a bit. But let's go through and run the 8 custom color rosettes. So I'm really going to be able to maybe pick a couple of flesh tones in this, some other tones to go in the art. I don't want to do this 8 automatic that it does with the perceptual mode, so I'll uncheck the preview, change this palette to custom, and then we'll choose like the black color on one end, maybe a bright white on the other. And then we'll do, let's see, we want this lip color, and we want the eye color here. And again, when I pick on these, what I do is I select them, but then I say, you know, maybe I want it to be the brightest point and then a little bit brighter than that. Okay, and then I'm going to choose this gold color. It's like that's one of the colors in the hair. This is actually, there's like a brighter yellow or gold in here. I'd be careful about which color I pick. I want to pick maybe a bright yellow color and a color for the hair. And then I'm going to pick one of these flesh tone colors and maybe one of the darker ones. Maybe like the shaded color here. It really depends. There's a lot of choice that you have in picking different colors from an artwork like this. But let's see, we got kind of like a lighter flesh tone here. And you might want to change the sample to pick an average of the area. So I want an average color here. And this one I want to have like an average color of the shaded parts, like so. Hit OK, check preview, see if it changes drastically too much or if it seems like it's going to capture a lot of those colors. You know, it might work. We're going to see what kind of stuff comes out when this is finished, but let's just hit OK and let this run through. I didn't pick any grays because what will happen is the gray might interfere with all those tints and tones, and it'll kind of affect how things come out. And we'll just see how long this one will take to go through. It's just going to create the different colors and extractions, switch them to the different layers, and it's running through and processing a lot of different stuff there. Okay, so now it's going and it might set up the different colors into the different layers here. And then it'll go through and convert them to halftones once it's done with this. And again, it's kind of like a set of separations. You could still go in and edit if you know how to edit all this stuff in Photoshop. It's giving you a set that you can just start working with right away, you know, to get to maybe that level of perfection that you're looking for. But the point of this stuff really is not to try to make it perfect from the start. There's a lot of ways that these colors interfere with each other or blend with each other differently depending on what colors you pick and how it works with the original art. But the point is that you can do this stuff in an automated way, and then you have something to work with if you want to take it to that next level and try to get more precise and change some of the things that happen. It's really all into two different stages of which colors you pick, how they blend together in the original, and then, you know, seeing if that you can pick different or better colors. And there's some other, I'm going to show you in these other modes, not just the HWB color modes, but the custom hues and grays mode. That's some really awesome stuff, and I'm excited to show you guys how that works, because now you can just tell the art to work with hues and with grays, but you get to pick which ones they are, like pick custom set of hues, a custom set of grays. We might show that one coming up next. So this, we'll just hit OK, let the resolution be 600. And when it comes up for the halftones, I'm just going to hit enter and enter twice. Let the angle stay the same. And I'm just going to let this one go through automatically too. Okay, so now it's running through and putting out the different dot gains, the different layers of color, and it's setting those halftones and duplicating them around. But, you know, it affects, the order of the colors affects what the final print would look like, what the final version would look like. We'll turn off this preview, we'll look at this one. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff maybe I wouldn't like about it. I would want this flesh tone and that flesh tone to maybe interlock together better. I would want this lip color to not have so much shading in it. But, you know, the point of what I do with a lot of this stuff is I might run something through one of these versions and say, I don't know, I have to do too much work to try to make this print better. And, you know, again, you might actually take this artwork into the fast photo filter and just run it through here, pick a custom set of colors when it's done, and you might be able to get the same artwork to look really great with just a few colors. So let's just go here, uncheck preview. If we were to use previous, we can get those colors to come out, but you see it's even maybe worse than the other one was. But if I don't do as many colors, if I do local perceptual, 5 colors, but then I go to custom and change them, I could choose like the black and the white. And I could choose maybe one color for the eyes. And choose the lip color here. And then just like a flesh tone, I might pick the average of this right here. And yeah, I mean, it kind of works in some areas, but then the eye color is being pushed into these ones, and the hair color has basically been turned into the same as the lips. So I don't know, you maybe want to add another color. we'll go to, we could just go to custom and then add another color here. So we could add this hair color, maybe take that off the average. And we might need to do another shaded color in here just to prevent some of the, what was happening was like the eye color was going into some of the stuff, the lip color. You might even select this gray, like you want to pick a darker gray. Let's hit OK on that and preview it. Yeah, you know, it's like changing way too much, and I think I'm going to show you guys some of the better actions you can use in this set to get something like this to work. Okay, so let's change this to button mode. Let's go down here. So instead of a 6, 7, or 8 color custom rosette, we can actually do things like, let's look at the HWB modes. So we've got an HSB custom mode, which is going to be like overprinting the black over the shades and then letting the tints all blend into white, and it would be kind of like over a white background. Let's do HSB custom. Hit OK on this. Now here it's basically extracted the hues into their own chromatic area, and I can change the levels if I want. If I want to like affect this, get rid of more of that stuff, or get rid of some of that noise in there, you can actually change this before it goes into this mode. Okay, this is like the entire gradient. Moving this end will actually get rid of too much stuff, and then moving this will like darken up some of those things. So I might want to do this about there and get rid of some of that background noise stuff. Let's hit OK, and then it'll let me pick colors from that. So let's just hit OK and continue, let the halftones be generated. It's basically splitting the hues and the grayscales and then running the fast photo filter on each of them separately. Now here's where I get to pick the local perceptual and how many colors I want the hues to be blended out of. So I can go through and change this to custom, and maybe I don't want 8 colors. Let's start off with perceptual, turn the preview on, change it down to maybe like 3 colors to start, then turn off the preview, then go back to custom. Now I want to pick white as one of these colors just so it keeps the background color as white. Then I'll choose maybe this lips color. I might make that a little bit more saturated. We have an eye color here. And then we can pick the flesh tone. Let's go to like 11 by 11 average. Get like a flesh tone color in here. And then we can do maybe this orange and gold. Or we'll just let it be like the yellow. There's like a yellow in here. I take that off the average. Okay, it's like a gold yellow there. Let's hit preview. Yeah, that's not bad. It's making all of this stuff that same flesh tone now, and I could change that after. I could move that flesh tone around to a different color. But I'm letting it pick and maybe force a lot of that stuff to the same tone. I could change it a little bit later. I could maybe see if this one works, but I want to pick that average again when I'm doing this. Hit OK, OK, and preview. Yeah, so then we got the eyes, the lips, the hair, the crown, and the flesh tones. So let's hit OK, and then it goes through and it puts the black overprint over all those tints. So you can see there's those halftones of those colors there, and then here's the black halftones that go over it, and you could go in and maybe add more of the eye color in if you want. But this one's not too bad. There's the merge preview. Okay, so let's close that. And then let's look at maybe the HWB custom overlock. So this one, instead of overprinting just the black over the tints, this one's going to use pure hues of color, and it's going to overlock white and black. So I'm going to hit OK on this 600 dpi. We're going to let it go through, hit enter, enter, like this. And it's going to let us select directly from the hues which of the brightest colors we want to put underneath the artwork. And this is a really good method. It works great to do some artwork that has a lot of different tones and shades and tints to it. Okay, so uncheck this. We want to maybe change this down to about 4 or 5 colors. Turn the preview on. And I want to go to custom. I might not even want to use any of those blues or these greens. Or, I just want to have like maybe this lip color here. And like the brighter orange. And we're going to have like a yellow in here, like a bright gold. We've got the eye color. And I may change it to like an azure blue. And we don't really need to pick white, but we might have it be in there just so it forces all of that transparency to white. Let's check this on. Yeah, so now there's a solid amount of blue under the eyes, a solid amount of like pink under the lips. All this orange is under the flesh tones and the hair. And we got some of this yellow in the crown. So let's hit OK. And then there you go. So this one is really capturing all of the tints and tones and shades of the original, getting the colors right. And what happens is all those flesh tones are now all made by a white and a black overlocking all of this color. This is actually really a great way to print. You don't have to worry about getting all those tones of the flesh all right with a lot of tiny little dots. You only have to have the white dots go over and then the black dots interlock, and they leave enough space in between to let that flesh color come through. And what I like to do is put like some clear ink into the white, some clear ink into the black, and you'll get these nice tints and tones and shades. You could still go into this and change the curves before it gets affected by the halftone, and you could darken that up or lighten it up to get some more hues to show up. You can go into this one as well. Put a curves into right before the white gets converted, and you can take a little bit of the white out of that. So that really increases the saturation, but you might do that before printing, and then when it prints, these darken up again and they come back to the place that you wanted them to be. Okay, and then to get a good preview, I'll go up here and do merged composite layer. And if I want to see it when I'm zoomed out, zooming out might blur it together a little bit better. When you zoom in, you'll see a nice dot pattern. But if you don't want to see all that, you could take this and do filter blur and blur it by like 3 pixels. That'll give you a nice indication of how it might look when you print everything together. Okay, so that one's pretty good. I mean, there's some stuff that you would, if you were being a perfectionist about it, you might go in and be like, oh, I don't want that color here. Some of this yellow making the green out there, some of this blue in that region. So let's just close this and we'll keep this original open. And we'll keep going and show you guys some more of the ways that these work. So that was the HSB custom, the HWB custom. Now, if you do these HWB 6 hues interlock, 6 hues overlock, 12 hues interlock, 12 hues overlock, these don't require any custom color selections. And they'll look a lot more like the original, but it's this is more difficult to pull off when you're making screens and when you're printing. So let's hit OK. And hit OK on this. And it really just snaps that halftone pattern layer over the original and forces it to all the different hues. And then there's the entire original recreated exactly. But it's really got a lot of different colors being mixed in, and they're very small dot patterns. So you'd have like these small little patterns of blue and magenta and cyan. But you can go through into this, it's indexed. You can go into this, and then when we're in this index mode, I can use the menu shortcuts to go edit color table. Maybe I don't want the pink in there, or I kind of need it for the lip color, but maybe I can make red and pink the same color. So we'll have this magenta, we might change it to like a 330. We'll change the red to a 330. And we will change both the blue and the cyan to the same color blue. Maybe a little bit brighter. I like dragged and selected both of those with a left click. And the green I don't really want at all. I'm going to just change that to white. and we'll hit OK, but then we want to merge those colors together, so we'll say RGB and reindex exact. Now if I go to color table, you can see it's just made of this like a magenta, almost like a cyan color, a yellow, and then a white and black. And those are all interlocking together. If I save this, it'll be like the smart object right here, but I could also duplicate it, and we could right click this and do actually we're gonna go into this indexed mode version, and we're gonna close this one. And starting from this, I'm going to use the fast index to layers. And I just want to check the color table again. I've got 5 colors. So let's do 5 color index to layer. We'll let it go exact. We want to cancel that actually. Working with the smart object was probably not a good idea. Okay, let's close that action, put it back to button mode, and let's just flatten this out here. And we will close this one, and just duplicate this document and close that. You kind of want to start with something that's original and wasn't a smart object. Okay, let's run that again. 5 color index to layers. Now I can just choose the 5 exact, and it's going to bring each of these out into its own layer. And it'll have one that's like a positive separation you could print on film, and one that's the color of that layer. So there's the merged composite at the top. Oops, I kind of put that panel in the wrong place. Let's move that back up. And then we have, so we got a white background, we got color 1, color 2. Let's look at them independently. So here's color 1. This is all that pink. And some of these things, like I said, these are very difficult. You might never even get these to come out on screen with these small percentages, and that's why I really like the overlocking method. And the interlocking method is actually a little bit more difficult when all the colors interlock together, especially these multicolor interlocks. But you could go to this, control select it, and then do select expand. You do modify, expand, and I really might only do 1 pixel, and then I can fill it with that color. I might hit I for the eyedropper, select that, Shift F5 to fill with that color. I could have set it to foreground color. Let's hit OK with that. OK. And then we have this color 2 color, which is the blue. I could do the same thing there. On this layer, control select, select modify expand by 1 pixel. Set the eyedropper on that, or just Shift F5 to fill it and choose when I do the color. Select it with the eyedropper. Hit OK. I might go to the color 3 color, which is the yellow. And because I put so much additional saturation into the pink, I want to go to that yellow and do the same thing and have it overprint the pink a bit. So control select the yellow dots. Select modify expand by 1 pixel. And then I'm going to do Shift F5 to fill. Pick the color, set it to the yellow, hit OK. There we go. So now we got more of the yellow overlapping that. You could almost simulate them blending together a bit by changing the opacity of the yellow. And then we've got the white and the black. We can do a new merged composite to see all that blending together. It's almost like a little bit too much of the yellow in there. But you know, it's basically, it's sort of like what I'm doing is trying to do an enhanced overlock method out of the interlock. But I think, you know, I wouldn't use the interlock because all those tiny little dot percentages, and even trapping those out a bit, it really depends on when you print this, if you're going to get all those colors to come out the right shade and tint and tone. But it gives you something that you could bring to press and usually make it look pretty good on press. But let's close this and close this and maybe try the 12 hues. Let's go back up to that section, HWB color modes, and we'll try the HWB, or I'm sorry, I didn't show you the HWB 6 hues overlock. Let's click on the overlock method. So this one doesn't have you pick the custom colors from the overlock, it blends them out of the 6 hues. And this will kind of help to show you guys why I really prefer the overlocking method at times with a very difficult blend of colors to get like these tones and shades, like the flesh tones in this image. The overlocking method gives you all of that hue blending to each other, and then you don't have to worry so much. You can just have the colors go on top later. So you've got this set to 6 hues. I can go into this, and it's in index mode, so I can change these colors around, maybe merge them. Let's do that. Let's go and do edit color table. We'll take the cyan and the blue and make those the same blue, like an azure blue here. And we'll get rid of the green. Maybe we'll just make the green the same as that blue. Oops, I want to set it to all these the same. Left click and drag all 3 of those and then hit OK, and it'll set them all the same. And then we've got the pink and the red and the yellow. If I was to put the red and yellow together to make them orange, it might change the lip color too much. And that's why I might go to the 12 hues interlock instead. It'll have an orange instead of just red and yellow. But you know, and we can't really get rid of the yellow because it's making a lot of those tones here. So let's just kind of leave that the way it is and hit OK. We're going to do RGB and reindex exact to make sure that those are in the color table now, just those 4 colors plus the white background. Then I will do Control Save and close. So now that's got those colors there, and then the white goes down, and then the black goes down and overlocks them, and it's at different angles, so you'll get these kind of rosette effects when it prints. And again, you can still change the curves of this white to try to not have it be as much ink going down. But one of the cool things you could do is just add some clear ink into the white ink, and when you print it, it'll come out really nice. And then here's some curves on the black. I might lighten that up a bit. Okay, so then I can go through and do a new merge composite layer, and we get the preview of all that. And this might be the one that I adjusted before printing, and the one that would come out when it actually prints. I might say, oh, it's going to darken up a bit when it prints, and preview what it might look like when it prints if it darkens. But the white might be too powerful, so you would cut it back a bit. Let's do new merge composite layer. Oh, not right there though. Want to be like up at the top when you do that. Okay, and then just blur it a little bit to take a preview. Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Okay, so let's close that. And I'll show you the next one in the series here of the HWB color modes. It's going to be 12 hues, and we could do the 12 hues interlock or the overlock. You might see with the interlock and looking at this image that it's not going to have as many tiny little yellow and red dots in there, but it'll have maybe some orange. Because when you go to 12 hues, you're now going to have the secondary colors in between, like the primaries. So instead of just red and yellow and green and cyan, it's going to have orange and like a lime color, a mint color, etc. Okay, so there's the 12 hues interlocked. Could turn off the blurred preview and the merged preview and go into the 12 hues interlocked. Check out the color table. So we could use these menu shortcuts like edit color table. And you can see I don't want all of these hues of color. I almost don't want any of the greens. I could take like the blues and make them all one blue. We'll just turn all the greens to white. And we will maybe take the pink at 330, make the magenta the same. And the purple, I might change to the blues there, that same blue. What did I use for this blue? 215. So I'll change the purple to 215. I'll change these to the same color, 330. And we'll see how much red there is in here. Okay, it's kind of like a red-orange, so there's more red than orange, but it doesn't have the tiny little yellow pixels anymore. Most of the yellow colors are up in here. So let's just hit OK, and then we'll do RGB and reindex exact so it sort of merges those colors together. Look at the color table again, and I want to left click and drag these and make sure I set them to the same RGB value. Hit OK and OK. Click that, and we'll do RGB and reindex exact again. Look at the edit color table. Okay, we got it down to just those colors. And you know, that might be something we could do, is actually change, instead of these little orange pixels in here, let's edit color table, make the orange and the red the same, but we'll do it instead of 30 degrees and 0 degrees, we'll go to like 15 degrees. Hit OK, OK. And we'll do RGB and reindex exact so it actually makes those the same color. Edit color table, okay, we got it down to just 4 hues and white and black. I can do save and close because it's inside a smart object. And one thing we could do to extract those to the layers is we could just do layer flatten image, and we would, let's see, it had 4, it had 6 in there, right? So let's go to the fast index to layers, 6 color index to layers, and I'll just hit OK on these 6 exact. So it's just going to split all those up automatically for me. I don't got to try to go in and change the colors of each one to black and the rest to white, or, you know, select them manually like by the pixels. And I can just have each of those layers of color. So there's the black, the white, there's the red, orange, here's the yellow, and the blue, and the lip color. Okay, so you can see all that. And again, I could go through and do that thing I was doing before by like expanding these and enhancing the tones. But I've got some other buttons in here that do a lot of that stuff. There's some enhanced overlock methods. There's all sorts of cool stuff. And I'll show you guys all these different actions as we keep going. It's really all about knowing which way you want to go with the artwork, which process you want to use. If you want to use the custom color process or a more of a simulated process method, and if that's going to work with the artwork that you have in mind. So I think that this stuff is just going to be showing you lots of different examples and teaching the different ways that I would look at artwork and how I would extract it and work with it together like that. Let's close this one, and then look at it under the 12 hues overlocking method. So you see the same thing, but you won't get all those little dots in the colors. They will just overlock a completely filled in area of the hue. Let me just hit enter on these and let this one continue. Okay, let's turn off that blurred preview, that merged preview. And we've got the black and white now overlocking all of this hue going down. But because it's 12 hues, I still want to go in and merge some of these together manually. So I'm going to click in this, and I'm going to go up to the edit color table and use this process to merge them down. So that's why I'm showing this process a lot. Edit the color table. Let's change all of the purple and blues and cyans all to the same color. So I'm going to left click and drag all of these. And I'm going to set it to like this 215 or 210 blue. 215 should be okay, and hit OK. And then I want to take the rose and magenta and keep those at the same rose color. Maybe I would make them a little bit more magenta. And then we'll take this orange and red, and we may keep them the way they are because, you know, there's some hues in the cheeks that are a little more rose colored, and the others are a little bit more of the flesh color. So we could keep some of those variations, or we could just change both of these to more of that red orange. But it kind of gets rid of too much of the lip color, right? So I don't think I want to do that. I want to keep this one to the brighter orange. And this one I could change to the magenta, but it might make everything look way too wrong there. So we gotta kind of keep it as a red. Hit OK, and then we'll do the RGB and reindex exact. Look at the color table again. Oh, and I need to get rid of some of these greens, and really they could just kind of go to white. Okay, let's hit OK on that, and then Control S to save, close, put the white and the black overprinting that, and then we could do a new merged composite layer, and I can like blur it a little bit to simulate the print a bit better here. Okay, there you go. So let's work on another variation of it. So we're going to go through, so we've looked at all of these HWB color modes. Now I've got ones that essentially take care of some of the issues with the indexing mode, not being able to let you pick grays and not letting you be able to pick some custom hues. And what I can do is do a hues plus grays technique. But I'd kind of want to use like 4 hues or more. So because we'd have like the lip color, the eye color, some sort of orange under the flesh tone, and yellow. And instead of 4 grays, like you can actually still just pick 3 grays, but you'd want to set the 2 grays close to each other so it still has 4 of them. And you know, you could do that probably with this one, and we'll see how it comes out. Maybe I would use 4 grays. Maybe I would use a dark gray and a light gray, but I don't know that I really need it. There's maybe just some grays that go in here, and you know, some lighter colors. But let's just run through this one before we finish this video, and I'll show you guys. So we'll do like a 4 hues plus 4 grays. So this technique, this is some of the stuff I've really been working on the past like a month or so, is figuring out how to do this technique. And it comes out really amazing at times because it lets you pick a custom set of hues and a custom set of the grays. So we're gonna have to pick 4 colors in here. And the perceptual one is, I don't know that I like those colors it's picking. So I'm going to go into the custom mode, and I want to change this right here. Maybe we'll pick like this 20 degrees, 23 degrees orange. And we will change this to like the eye color, might go like a little bit more azure blue. And we will have a lip color in here. See how it's more like 343 or so in the magenta or the rose color. And then we'll have like the yellow. As long as we use like a bright yellow here. Or maybe something like the lighter gold. Because there's like this orange, brighter orange color, 35 degrees. And only the brightest yellows are like right here. I don't know that I need them to be that bright. I might go with more of a gold. Just go down to like 44, 40 degrees. So let's hit OK and hit OK and preview. Nice, so that made the eyes the one color, put all that gold under there. It's got the orange in here. It's got some of the gold, no, it's really mostly the orange mixing with the rose color. Nice, let's just hit OK. And then we can go through and do the grays. And the thing that this does is it uses like all of those techniques that I've been working on over the years, where I figured out how to do this revealing of the grayscale levels, revealing of the hues, taking the chromatic gradient and using that to overlap the two together. So this one I'm running the hues at 45 degrees from each other, and I'm running the black and white and gray. I'm running all those grayscales at 22.5 degrees. Or no, 67.5 degrees, but then I take the chromatic gradient and I use that at 22.5 to blend the two together. So this one's going to go through and kind of do the process of the custom colors for the 4 hues, and then it's going to let me pick from the grayscales the custom grays that I want. And I'll just hit OK on this part and let it go through with the 45 degrees. So that's gone through and interlocked all those colors together. We want to just hit OK again for the resolution. And now we've got the grayscale version, and we're going to change this palette from exact, because it's usually going to look at it and say, well, there's only 256 levels in here, so we want all 255 pixels, and we know we don't want that. So uncheck preview. Let's go local perceptual. You see there's 4. Hit preview on. And the thing is, we might have to pick 4, but they could be 2 of them close to each other and just merge them together. So let's turn off the preview and go to custom. And then sometimes I really like to see this original better while I'm looking at it to see where the gray areas truly were. So if I double click and open that image, I can kind of look at it again and say, all right, I think I want, I need to have a white point and a black point, but I think I want maybe like a gray that's like the middle gray. Maybe I'll make a middle gray and a light gray. So let's have one of these be white, one of these is black. The other one might be like a darker gray here, and this other one be like a lighter gray. So let's hit OK on that and hit OK. So now this will run through and extract the grayscales into a perfectly interlocking gradient of grays. And then it takes the two and it merges them together. So now you can really go through. And again, these are some very challenging types of separations to pull off. Now, this action set is not the only thing that you get, but you're also going to get a whole bunch of other files. And some of these will do really, really professional, exacting types of separations, but it's a lot more complicated to teach that stuff. And so that's why I'm going through slowly and teaching you guys all of the automated methods that you can quickly get some things that may work one way or another for you. And then we'll get into some of more of the advanced stuff on how to really dial in and create a precision color separation using, not that these aren't precise, but it really depends on the artwork you're feeding into it and the mode that you go through, whether the full automations are going to totally do what you really want as the best result. But, I think you need to see all the different ways and start off with the simplest approaches that give you something to work with on press, and then get into, as you want to learn more, how to use some of the other methods that I've developed, like the gradient mappers with tessellations, the tessellators with smart objects. That stuff lets you set up a document in real time or non-destructively have your original art. You can still change the original around. Maybe there's some mistake in there you forgot about or a color you want to change in the original. It goes through and lets you do a bunch of layers of the colors that you can still change. All the separations are like real time and non-destructive. And then you can put the halftones over them and really dial it in. But it kind of creates some really crazy files when you do that. It's like a professional level. So let's just change this, hit OK on the 600 DPI. We will let this go through at that 67.5 for the grayscales and let it default to 22.5 for the chromatics. Okay, so this is like me basically putting as much of the advanced professional level of things as possible into these automated actions and creating some really high-end separations out of this stuff. And so that's why I wanted to get to this one in this video to show you like this stuff is truly next level in its ability to get some really awesome separations out of the original art. So we've got this one that's 8 colors, 8 custom colors, 4 hues and 4 grays combined. And let's just zoom in and look at this stuff. So it's really cool. It's got the dark grays, the lighter gray mixing with the orange and the magenta color for the lips. We got the blue colors for the eyes. It's got some of that gold color for the crown and in the hair with the orange. But it actually puts the grays in here, the darker gray, the lighter gray, the white. It really captures everything as good as it can. It even puts some of the warm gray in because it's got like these colors mixed in a bit. Okay, and so there's like the flesh tones made out of those different grays. This one came out really nice. But again, it's like 8 different screens of color with the different grays on top. And so if we want to turn these layers off, we can go down here and actually look at how some of this is constructed together. Okay, so we've got this setting right here is the hues. And then this thing right here kind of like knocks all those out from each other. And this one goes and overlaps it. And it kind of like has it so they both have a way to mix together. I can choose whether I want more of this to come through or less. Like I basically have a control with this. You can see it's kind of fading the hues over a black background. I can choose if I want more hues to come through or less hues to come through. And that's kind of like affecting the chromatic gradient. So when I have the grayscales on, you can see that I can use this levels on the halftones on this chromatic gradient to choose how much the grayscales are mixing with the colors. Okay, so this stuff is just next level. It's super advanced, but very quick to get to this result automatically, letting it pick the custom grays for you, the custom hues, and you pick how much those blend together. You know, like I could force more of the grays to go over the art, but that'll actually neutralize the stuff. I don't want it to be neutral. I could let some more of it come through like that. So really awesome capabilities in all these different actions, but I'm just teaching you guys the instructions in these videos and showing as many examples as we can show on just the separations, and we'll get into different printing examples. And let me just do a new merged composite layer. Okay, and there's that separation result right there. And I might be able to just flatten this document from here and then extract with the 8 color index to layers, all of those as separate layers without having to go in manually to the index mode and change one to black, the others to white, and go through and do it for all of them. So now it's just kind of automating the splitting of that separation of 8 colors into the 8 screens as separate layers. And so you just take it right to press. You could put it right on films and start printing it. You may want to generate your underbase, and this has made it kind of easier to select the layers now for the underbase. So let's say I've got, I might take all the separation layers where it says separation, and we'll just move these down below the shirt color, the background color. And then I can change the background color. Maybe we want to, let's expand the canvas a little bit. Just cropped that out a bit. And let's go and change the background color to some sort of color here. And then you can see now I've got the different colors going over this. Okay, so here's that red, the blue, the yellow, the orange. Then we got the white, the light gray, the dark gray, the black. What I might want to do is say, I think I'm going to take the all of these colors. So I'll control select, control plus select, control plus select, select the white, select the light gray, and maybe I won't underbase the dark gray or the black. Okay, but basically I can now, I'll turn these off so you can see what it's doing. So I can go and make a new solid fill and set it to white. And that might be my base white. And then I'll put these colors over it. Now those colors will show up over the shirt color. And you could still go through and maybe expand those colors out a bit. Like, you know, maybe some of these, like these orange, still have a few little pixels in them that won't resolve when you try to burn it to screens. And you could enhance that a bit. And the cool part is, you know, you're going to go back over it with the grays and it might help to smooth it out. You know, but it's really about, if you know what you're going to be able to get, you got to know all those variables and really see what you get with some of the stuff when you bring it to the screens. If you already know that it might not work at that point, you just take it and expand those pixels a little bit. You control select and expand them by 1 pixel. So I could push more of this color out if I want to. Select this one, modify, expand by 1 pixel. You know, but it may change how these colors look in the final result. Let's do Shift F5 to fill with that foreground color. Let's go to color 2, which is the blue for the eyes. So we'll do select expand 1, and we'll set the eye color with the eyedropper, and then Shift F5, foreground color. Do color 3, which is the gold, and I think I'm going to put the gold above that color here, but it depends on how you're going to be printing it. If you're actually taking this to screen print, you're doing it in a specific order, you'll want to simulate the order you're going to do it in and see how it's going to work with the opacities and all that stuff. Let's do select, modify, expand by 1 pixel. You can go in and look at this gold here. I'm going to do the eyedropper on the gold, Shift F5 to fill it with the foreground color. And I'm still going to have this above the orange, or it already is above the orange there. Here's the orange color. So I could do Control Select, eyedrop the orange, select, modify, expand. Oops, not smooth. Select, modify, expand by 1 pixel. Eyedrop the orange again so I get that color. Shift F5 to fill is like a shortcut. You can go edit, fill with the foreground color. There we go. So now you can see we're putting down a lot more color, but it's not too crazy. Then we've got, and there's that gold. Then we got the white, the light gray, the dark gray, and the black. And we're all over that green shirt color. And then we can do new merged composite layer. And there you go. So there's that separation, ready to take to press. You might get rid of some of these things if you think, I just don't want all that red, but it was kind of going off what the original image had. Maybe there was like a little bit of red in this. And I expanded the chromas, so I got more color out of different areas. But this stuff is pretty amazing that you can do all this at an automated level. A lot of the things I've worked on over the years, you got to spend hours to get to this stuff and really try to extract all of these gradients at different levels and all those colors at different levels. And it doesn't require all that. It can just all be automated in a different process. And so, and the way this works differently is like you could take this image, and I've got some other primary process modes set up. And let's say you just want to do it in CMYK, like a paper print rosette or a CMYK print for going on t-shirts, but usually CMYK doesn't work so good. Even on a white t-shirt, the profile is going to be based on your color profile you've set here. And you also want to be careful of your color settings when you do this, that you have S gray set for your gray and your spot color gray. And then the CMYK mode it's going to use is going to be this mode. So you could set up a totally custom CMYK if you want. Use any of these different methods here. These are these ICC profiles. But I'll just show you the difference between what would normally be done on a paper print and then what you would do with a screen print that I just set up with those 8 colors. So, the 4-color process might work in the world of doing paper printing a lot of the time, but when you're doing screen printing, especially on t-shirts and other types of background colors and fabric and stuff, it really does not come out as good using that process. It's got to be way more precise. So let's just hit OK, and let's try this CMYK profile rip rosette. Just hit enter. It lets you change the color profile at that point. And I'm just going to hit OK, let it go to 1200 for this one. And I will have it pull in the halftones. It's going to actually do these instead of the 19% though. That's actually going to be a little bit too small of a dot for, it'll be kind of like too high of an LPI. But for paper printing, that might actually be the LPI they would go with. This would kind of be like 100 LPI. Okay, let's hit OK and see that. So one of them is going to be at 15 degrees. The other one's going to be at 75. You just hit OK and hit enter for these. You could choose custom angles you want for all of these rosettes or for all of these CMYK plates. But the thing that it's going to do with the angles that I've got defaulting here, 75, 15, 45, and 0, that's going to create a rosette pattern. And I'm just showing you have this now as an action to convert your image into CMYK halftones like a paper print. But what's going to happen is if you're trying to screen print that, it really would not work the same way. It'll kind of be like it's too difficult. Everything you go to put onto the screens and you go to put onto the press, they get changed so much by those variables that it rarely works out the way you think it will. It looks good on the computer, but when you go to put it on press, it doesn't necessarily look the same. So that's why we go in the screen printing on t-shirt stuff, and we really go into all sorts of expanded colors and create a lot of different other methods to get the colors out. So here you can look at this merged composite, and we can see how we've got this rosette type of interlocking halftone pattern. This is like a CMYK for paper printing, and you can see it's kind of created the rosettes for a paper printing technique. Okay. So this is normally the way they would print this for like a magazine or doing it on like paper printing presses for screen printing on paper. And it's, it works really well when all of the variables are kept exactly as possible. Okay, if you can hold all those little dots and all those percentages, but the way this CMYK stuff works, this is actually really good. I'm glad I'm showing this. it usually makes all of the grays in the image out of the colors. So it's actually using very little of the black. It's actually just got the cyan, the magenta, the yellow, and those merge together at times to make a darker black color. Okay, where those three overlap, it'll make a black. It doesn't need the black pixel. It only starts to use the black. If I look at this, I'll show you actually. So you see how the black is right here. It's not using much of it in these areas. It's actually using these three colors, and where they overlap, they will create a darker color like a black. So the CMYK paper profile method tends to make a lot of the gray colors out of this. Let me do a new merged preview to show you. New merged composite layer. And I'll bring that up and maybe blur it just a little bit. There. So it tries to make the softer gray colors out of all three CMY plates, and then it'll bring the black in to darken that stuff up. But when you go to print on t-shirts, you don't want to be trying to make three screens all mixed together to make that color overlapping each other with the transparencies of the inks, and then it works over a paper background or a white shirt background, but they'll fill in, they'll start to dot gain. You can change the curves around still. These halftones are live rips. They're not hard set on these layers. And so you might still use this method to try to dial in a CMYK print, but you might change the angles and overlap them instead of doing them at the offset rosette angles. And I'm just showing you with this one that typically a CMYK print will use the CMY to make all the gray. And then the difference we have with that other one is that we've actually got a dark gray and a light gray making those areas, and then they stay more consistently the color that you print. And then we know that this stuff's going to be made out of light gray, white, dark gray, and the orange color and the red color, and that'll all blend together, and it'll actually be easier to get all that to work together. But it's 8 screens. Okay, there's a difference between the 4 colors and the 8 colors going into that process. But I just wanted to show you guys that you do have options to go into CMYK modes. And then I've got CMY just by itself, CMYK. Then we've got the 6 hues channels with the CMYK. We've got WCMYK, interlocking. We've got ones that include gray with the CMY plus a blue. This is a very special process I developed that is pretty incredible in how it captures everything in the image in a full color method. But that would also be white base, cyan, magenta, yellow, blue. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8. That would really still be 8 colors, but then you got to overlap and blend things in a more specific way with the ink values that you use. And honestly, this one's 8 screens with more of a custom color setup using those 4 grays, meaning there's a white, a light gray, a dark gray, and a black, and 4 hues. But there's so many different ways to approach this stuff, and I think that the best thing is to teach you guys how and when I look at artwork and images and different examples, and when I decide based on that art and based on testing some little automated methods out, I make these decisions as to which one's going to give me the best result. But you have to know all those other variables that you're going to face when you go to printing it. If that kind of informs your decisions when you're deciding what color separation method to go with, what colors to use, what areas to make into more distinct colors of their own and blend with others. You're going to have those decisions be informed by the process of when you make films and when you make screens and when you make the inks and print with it. So you need to maybe understand a lot of those variables too. And again, that's why even though this is basically the most advanced color separation software out there, okay, that there's nothing out there that does this stuff at this level, but I can't in good conscience sell it at some sort of $1,000 price point specifically for screen printers, because I can't control all of the variables that you're going to go into printing with. And you may be able to take these separations and put them on screens and have it all work out really well, but you might not be able to do the order that you want to do. You might have things happen when you burn the screens that it doesn't work out when you make the halftones. And that could be just due to the physical process of how you're exposing the screens. And it might work for one person's setup because they have it all dialed in to really capture these as exact as possible. But another person's setup might be not set up that way, and it exposes too much of the dots and they don't show up when you rinse it out, or they get the dots rinsed out, but when they go to print it, they put too much pressure down and it really pushes too much ink through some of these things, or they don't follow the sequence. So it's not like the software can automate the process of how to make screens, how to make the films and the screens and the inks and the printing. But that's stuff that I have done over the past 20 years and have all this experience with. And I have a 6-color manual press at my shop that I'm going to start showing you guys how to do these things with. And we may do some other jobs on some automatic presses that have more colors to do like these 8 screens. But you know, I just want to get started on all of this stuff. Now that I got this entire action set finished with this 1.8 update, I think it's got basically everything in it that you could possibly need for most automated techniques of separation. And in here, there's a lot of ones you can dial in and even change it around any way you want. But I think I'm going to end the video here with that example, and we'll continue on in the next video showing more of the custom hues plus grays. You know, this one I did the 4 hues and 4 grays. You might just have a 2 hues and 2 grays method, and you can still pick between these if you just want 1 hue or 1 gray, etc. There's a couple of ways to work with it. And then there's one that even lets you do custom tones for both of them. You don't have to pick the exact hues and the grays. And these other ones here have tints and shades and tones, and that's some of the tricks I was showing in the first video about forcing the tints to the hues, the shades to the hues, tones to the hues. You can trick the artwork to give you a tint a little bit easier. And then we'll just get into more of those primary process color blend methods and the extra mid-tone modes. And then I've got the HWB layer rip scripts. These are following from when you install the Max Chroma Color Blender plugin. Then you can now activate these scripts directly from the action set here. And I've got the 6 hues plus gray interlocked, 12 hues plus gray interlocked. And we've got some that go to 6 hues with 4 tones plus 3 grays. You can run some of these and then use the index mode to merge those colors down to just a few. Okay, so we're going to finish this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. We'll continue along with some really exciting and amazing separation techniques, taking artwork, converting it into different colored halftones. And in the near future, we're going to start showing you guys how to take these things to screens, take them to press, and make some awesome prints. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.